And I think we're live again, but one never knows for sure. Hey, everybody, welcome to another Eventide hosted quarantine event. This is the AES edition, and I'm really excited. The AES has 8 regions around the world representing all sections, student sections and professional sections. And one of the most active is the Latin American section. There are 11 pro sections in the Latin American region, 28 student sections in the Latin American region that includes currently 10 countries in Central and South America. And we have 5 of those countries represented today. So I'm very excited for you to we're going to get a sense for what's going on in their regions and what's going on in their professional life. So I'd like to go quickly around the room and have you quickly introduce yourself. And then I wonder if you might tell us of a funny meeting. You know, at AS meetings, you meet heroes and geniuses and famous people and people who should be famous who aren't. So maybe you've had a chance encounter that might be a story worth telling. So Cesar, why don't you go first?
Hello.
We hear you. Do you hear us?
I'm sorry, Don. Yeah. Hello.
Hello.
Yes, I'm sorry. My just when you were talking, my Bluetooth went out of battery, and so I messed. But then I have such a big ego that you said Czar, and I thought you were saying Cesar.
Those words are the same.
Those words are the same. So please, I missed the info. Sorry for everyone in the whole world. That's what Latin America is about. So please, if you ask me a question, I am ready to hear it now.
The question is, have you had a strange encounter at an AES meeting with someone famous, someone you admire, or a colleague? I'm just looking for a non-technical story. Please don't use the word decibel or polarity.
Oh, yeah. Okay. Well, a strange encounter. I might say. I don't know if it's strange. I mean, it's not strange anymore to me because I feel accustomed to it. But there are really, in every convention or every meeting or every conference, even now the virtual ones, there are. I won't say extreme, but I will say very interesting and very sound experiences where I can find myself talking with, people that I admire, or authors of books that have been references to mine, and I'm being able to ask a question about things that I might not understand fully, or I might have another vision, and then I can speak with them about that. And that's pretty awesome, and that's pretty unusual encounter to be able to to speak with the real source of knowledge. Yep.
That's cool. But, Cesar is a very serious person. What I had in mind was, like, once I was at the convention in New York, and Les Paul and I reached for the exact same $35 chicken Caesar wrap at the Javits Center. So I was excited to meet him, and we had a nice little conversation, but we met in the food court as we wrestled over a sandwich. That's what I was looking for. But
okay.
Valeria.
I might say that I once helped Jorge Massenburg, which computer was, I think, broke down, and they needed a computer, and it was this little Uruguayan there to save the day, playing back the tracks, the multi-track from September from my computer. So my computer had the multi-track of Earth, Wind, and Fire, and I am sorry I couldn't keep them.
You do know we're live. That's the kind of story we're looking for.
Sure.
And we are on with Jorge Massenburg 2 weeks from today at the AES edition here. So I'm going to make sure he knows that you still have September.
I don't.
Oh,
I don't.
Night it was?
I wish. I wish. I don't. I was born in September, but
Valeria.
But he didn't let me files.
Valeria, tell us about a strange meeting you might have had at AES.
Yes, I warn you, it's not exactly funny, but it's very peculiar for me because you are always looking for your heroes and the people you know because you've listened the recording and everything or reading the books. And especially it happened to me with David Sherman, who was at that time the president, and I was the vice president for Latin America. So we were in the board, and we were always like speaking about the future of AES and all these meetings we have for the AES. And we were in Brazil, and we share we share a dinner there, and we were with a beer and everything. And then he told me that he was the one who make all this calculation for the Central Park concerts for the New York Philharmonic. And for me, for years, I was very, very young when I started going to New York to visit for the concert reasons, opera, etc. And I was really, really impressed with the sound you get in the Central Park, because you have the level and the volume is exactly like in a concert hall, and you can walk for miles and you still listen exactly on time and everything together. And he was the one who made that, and we were talking about that like 1 hour or more, and I was really, really, really enjoy it and really grateful with AES for giving you these amazing stories all the time, and it happens all the time with many things. You get all that information when you don't expect it.
That's really great. Yeah, it's not just famous people. Sometimes it's people who are more talented and more important than we knew because we heard their work but didn't know what they did behind the scenes, perhaps. Yeah, that's good. Jorge, how about you?
Yeah, well, first of all, thanks, Alex, for inviting me. I'm glad to be here and with all these great friends. We were talking about then it's very easy at the AES conferences all over the world uh, to meet or to walk by one of your heroes in the industry. I have a story. A few years ago, I had that on the Latin American conference. Um, I don't remember exactly where it was, but I think probably it's Argentina. Talking with a friend, with a very good friend called Alejandro Bidondo. So if he's looking at us, I send a big hug to him. A very great acoustician from Argentina. We were talking at some point, and then he said hi to another person, and he introduced me to him. He said, "Hey, Jorge, I want to introduce you. This is Mr. Oscar Bonello. Oscar, this is Jorge from Peru. Hey, nice to meet you, sir." He was an older guy, and we started talking. Just like a very informal chat. So a few minutes later, he excuses that he had to left, and just when he started walking by, Alejandro told me, "You know who this guy is, right?" And I was like embarrassed. Sorry, no, sorry, but I don't know who he is. You know, he's a Carbonello. He was part of the team that created the algorithm for the MP3 compression. He was one of the guys who made the MP3 compression algorithm. I said, really? Yeah, he's Argentinian, so you just met one of a very important guy. I said, why didn't you tell me that before so I could ask him like 50 questions? Very interesting things. So in another time, I had the honor to meet great people in the industry, like for example Mark Berger. Mark Berger was the sound designer for Apocalypse Now, for the movie. So all of us know how big is Apocalypse Now as a movie. So I had the chance to talk to him on another convention, and make straight to him some questions that you will never have the chance to if you weren't part of the AES, you know?
Yeah. So we often go to an AES event because there's an announced topic and we want to go to that meeting and learn about that announced topic and that structured, presentation, whatever it is. But the other people who are there, we want to make sure we talk to them and meet them and learn from them. You can't in Facebook ask these people questions, but if you're sitting next to them at an AES meeting, they're happy to talk to you about it. So yeah, these are the sort of hidden pleasures and assets of being active in your AES section. Let's go to Marcela.
Thank you, Alex, for the invitation. I think one of the things I remember the most, like as a strange thing, because as you say, it's very common to bump into very famous people just because you are walking by. But this time I was with some friends and somebody started talking like in a small group, and there were two persons, I didn't know who they were, and they were kind of joking, saying like, oh no, we screwed up, we shouldn't have invented that totally changed the industry and that. And then I realized it was Karl-Heinz Brandenburg and a colleague who invented also MP3. So Jorge just reminded me of that anecdote. And it's funny to see how the people that you have like, sometimes you didn't know, don't think of them as people, as like a great inventor. And then it's there, and that is kind of asking this question: what would have happened if we wouldn't have done that? It's weird. So that was interesting, and many other stories, but like in Mexico, serving coffee to Jeff Emerick and things like that. It's like, yay, I did it.
Yeah, we definitely have to come back and talk about. I'm assuming that was at Soundcheck Expo in Mexico, maybe.
Yeah.
We'll loop back to that. There's a lot about the Latin American region of the AES that's amazing, and one of them is, of course, how active the sections are. But you also, I think, the Latin American region has the most active regional events in Mexico and the Latin American conference that rotates locations. Let's make sure we get to that really soon so that we can find out how all of you met Ken Scott and Jeff Emerick and Leslie Ann Jones and all these other people. People come from all over the world to attend that. But we haven't heard from Ivo yet, and Ivo is sporting the Shure SM7B.
Hello guys, thanks Alex, thanks Eventide for this invitation. So my story, it's related with the Latin American conference in Buenos Aires 2007 and with George Marzenburg, so to Cesar and Jorge stories. So I was part of the organization, and I was going from the first floor to the second floor to the third floor to the conferences the day before. In the lift, I had a trip with with Massenburg, George Massenburg. So I was really young. I think the year previous to that, I had access to his hardware EQ, and then the next year I was meeting him in the lift. So I think that I know that's funny, but it's a symbol of AES. It's like you can get contact and human contact and in person, and I realized it's a great guy in the industry, but really simple and accessible guy in person. And I had a really good experience, like 3 days after that, because we had the 3 days of conferences, the party, and you can access to them, like you say, in the next chair and have a normal chat and be like part of the industry, feel like that. So that's my story.
That's great. And it accumulates, a year or two later, you see these same people again, they remember you, you can allude to that conversation. 2 more years later, you see them again. So exactly. They do become less intimidating. And I think it's important to recognize that, because you are all leaders in AES, either in your local section or as regional VPs or past governors of the whole AES, or as faculty advisors for student sections. And you are all approachable as well, right? Would it be fair to say that a student shouldn't, with the exception of Cesar, a student shouldn't be afraid of you and they could come talk to you and ask you anything? Is that fair to say?
Yeah, I agree with that, especially with Cesar.
So,
I agree with that too.
Absolutely, Alex. I guess it's very important to get to that point. We are now. I mean, the association, all the region is full of students, of audio students, and sometimes they don't know exactly what are the next step for their careers and for the profession and for the AES in particular. So it is very, very important to create these bridges, this proximity with the students all the time and in every moment, and especially in these moments that we have a lot of, we don't know exactly what's gonna happen with a new normality and with the new events and ways of subsisting and work. So yes, of course, we are always open to listen students, to ask, to answer questions and whatever they need.
Yes, totally. I think it's very important to, like, in my opinion, to think the students like the future of our community. I mean, we have a career. We have been part of the AES section from, I know, in my case, for 20 years, and start to think in the future of the section. And I think the students and all the activities they do and the energy they have are really important to make them part of the future.
I couldn't unmute my microphone. Sorry about that. Yeah, thanks for that story. So I'd like to talk about this Latin American conference. And I wonder if you can, amongst yourselves, gradually describe the scale of it. Where is it located? How often does it happen? For someone who's never been, what should they expect? And then I'd like to get more specific afterwards, which is to find out, well, what would a student be able to attend at the conference? And what would a professional be able to learn at the conference? But first, what is this Latin American conference and where does it meet?
I think I can start this one. I mean, Latin American conference are our, I would say, our main general event. They were started, as far as I remember, by Mercedes Honorato as a VP, and that's almost 10 years back, more than 10 years back. And it's an event that's held yearly. It's every year, and it's itinerant. We move it from one country to another. It is hosted by the local section, but with an aim to provide a opportunity for assistants, but also for not only participants, but also for presenters from all the region. Okay, so it's a way of putting that country into the region, to gathering the people of the region in order to build community, and at the same time also to welcome foreigners. I mean, people from the States or Europe or Japan, in order to increase our knowledge. And
so where?
Yep.
Where is the next one? When and where is the next one?
The next one is happening on September 21st, 22, and 23rd of September. It's going to be in Rio de Janeiro. And as we all know, regarding this very strange year we had to live, everybody, it is going to be virtual, but still in Rio. That means that with the experience we had from the successful virtual Vienna convention, we borrow the good things from Vienna experience, and we thought a lot about what made Vienna in Vienna, and we tried to make the most of it for making even if it's virtual, we want to really make it Brazil. We want people to feel they are in Rio during these 3 days, eating at Rio time, sleeping at Rio time, and feeling the Rio vibe, and eventually the heat. We should broadcast the temperature so everybody could put in their air conditioner that temperature so they feel like in Rio.
And where have some past Latin American conferences been? It's not always in Rio, right?
I would let Jorge Azama to answer that question.
Yeah, well, I was honored to be the chairman of the last Latin American convention that took place in Lima, Peru, last year in 2019. As I said, I was very honored to be the chairman, and each year we changed the location, so we tried to cover all the region. It's a very, very hard work. It took like more than a year of work, not only mine, but with all the working team here of the Peru section, and of course with the great collaboration of Cesar, like our vice president for the region, and for all the colleagues, many of them here, from the different countries of Latin America. We are really like a community, and it's easier to organize the different conventions in different places, because we all try to collaborate with the host to make it happen, and to help the best we can to the organization, or to the country that had the organization of the event each year.
And so it's also been in Mexico City and Bogota, and it's been in Uruguay. So if I'm a student, what sort of events are going on at these Latin American conferences that I should think about? All of you have attended these, right? So I'm just wondering if you can point to any past event that you think might be rich for a student. And then let's also look at how it's valuable to a professional.
Oh,
Well,
that's
in Colombia, the creation of the professional section was an excuse. Like we organized the AES Latin America in 2010, and that gave us the chance to build the professional community here. And after that came all the student sections and all that. And the students get many of the events are for them, and we have tutorials, we have workshops. One of the main things I think is the student recording competition, which is famous all around the world, but in Colombia, I think that has activated a lot of the student sections. It's a good thing to know how the different universities are doing in comparison to one another. And there's also the commercial exhibition, which is good for the different brands and representatives. So it's always good for the students to attend.
Anything else?
Yes, I want
think
to. Oh, please.
to mention the recording competition for students, I think it's a very important part of the conference. It's a classic. I mean, I'm not sure from when this started, but I think it's in most of the Latin American conference there is a cat there. Sorry. There is yes, recording competition for students. So that's it's good to mention.
Yes, and just to add a small idea for what Valeria and Ivo said, I think one thing that is more interesting in our region, in Latin America, is that because of the different cultures of each country, the student recording competition becomes very interesting, because you can hear music from Peru, from Argentina, from Brazil, from Mexico, Ecuador, from all the countries, and each one has its own like identity, So it's very very rich to have such a great variety of musical culture, even if we are in the same region. And I think that the students um, are very, very proud to show to the rest of us part of their culture in the recording competition. And that's a very, very, very high point for me of that event.
That's great, Jorge. Thanks. And so what about if I'm a early career professional? Are there technical presentations, workshops, hands-on events?
Sure, you have in almost every Latin American conference in the schedule we have not only tutorials or basic information, but we try to share like we try to build a theme around the conference. For example, I don't know, loudness or I don't know, anything. Some in countries that are more for live sound, something regarding like sound system design and optimization. So in general, we have some kind of practical training, a long-term practical training, like in one room, all the mornings are devoted to a single theme. So you can have access to a certification of 10 hour certification or something like that. Then you have the tutorials, then you have master classes, and you have also the workshops, technical tours. We try to make, it's not only about receiving. That's for me a main key thing in those Latin American conferences where we are building, is that it's also the opportunity to share and to give. And for the host country, it's the opportunity to show off. It's like, this is our studios, this is our music, this is what we do, and people come and grab a sense of that, okay? And at the same time, it's like you can not only receive, but there's a place where you can talk, there's a place where you can represent, there's a place where you can show off in front of the others. And that's the same, not only from the technical side or from the cultural side or even from the friendship building community, but also for manufacturers. It's like, oh, we are a manufacturer from Bolivia and we do this kind of things. And putting these guys next to the table of, I don't know, Meyer Sound or next to Genelec, well, that's kind of a boost to them. Okay, it's like, oh, I know this brand. Also, so we are encouraging like the brand building of regional manufacturers and regional technology. We want to help that too, because that's part of the industry too. That's part of our community.
Valeria, is that cat an AES member?
Of course, everyone in this home are an AES member.
The cat looks giant. It keeps walking right by the camera. It scares me every time.
It's very big, yes.
I thought it was a lion. Well, so we were talking a little bit earlier before we went live that some of you are actually even a little bit busier right now during this pandemic than you were before the pandemic. And there's a question in from Facebook asking us if you could tell us what you think professionals should be doing to adapt, change during this pandemic. Any advice, career advice or strategies or explanation for why some of you are busier?
I have one suggestion. Go to Virtual Rio, September 22nd, 3rd, and 4th. One of the main themes and one of the main things we're going to talk in Rio is about working at distance, mixing for streaming. It's like adapting to this new reality where we know we will have less of something we have been doing and more from things we haven't been doing that much. So we will try to give this a lot. Like, for example, these can be simple things. It hasn't to be complicated. For example, remote client dealing with a client that is not with you there for retouching mixes. Okay, it's like how to exchange information, what is a good workflow regarding that. People have built experience from this from a long time. Others don't, and maybe they are great mixers, but they need to get this into their workflow now in order to continue working, because else they are done.
How do I go virtually to Rio? How much money? Where do I register? It sounds intimidating.
Oh, it's are you a student? Yes, you are a student member of the AES site.
Yes,
okay.
lifelong
For
learner.
you, it will be $5 for you. $5 US.
And can I find it online, the way to register? Is it very straightforward?
Not yet. We are Latin guys. We take our time.
It too is virtual. Okay, but we'll just keep an
it
eye on
should
it.
be today. If you go to the web page, it says registration starts on September the 15th. That's next week. Excuse me, on July the 15th. So that's next week.
It's actually today, but okay, yeah, next week.
Yep.
Uruguay time that you're on.
Next week we will see.
Excellent. So just keep an eye on AES.org for the announcement for how to register for the virtual Latin American conference in Rio. But other advice from others of you about what to do differently, perhaps, or what to do the same during this pandemic. Valeria, please.
I truly believe we have to take this like an opportunity to reinforce the way we are working, and to rethink with the people and the music and the technology exactly how we are doing well and what we are doing wrong. And it's we have to change many things. We have to learn many things of this industry. I always start my talkings with students saying that we are a pretty new activity. We have a pretty new activity in the history of the human beings, because it's just 100 years, and there are a lot of activities we started million years ago. So this is really new. What we do with technology and music, it's really new, and it's moving all the time. The way we think about it, the way we work with it, it's always moving, changing, and I think this will be another, probably the last big change we had was the digital technology. Now I think we are maybe starting another big era talking about this industry. And of course, I think it's going to moving not that slowly, very quickly, into more at home work, many ways of being more effective doing things, and being really we have to have very clear the point and the objective we have. We have not time to lose just now, that we shouldn't be wasting time or wasting the other people's time. So maybe it's a good opportunity to start thinking well what we want to do with things, with stuff, with music, with our time, with everything, with the community. And in this point, AES Mexico, for example, we decided to go a little bit slow in that case. I mean, we didn't started doing like many other people, like other virtual events and things like that. We start thinking what we considered value, and for example, now distinguish that our history in holding these international events And we are now preparing our digital platforms to broadcast the talks of the speakers who have visited us for so many years. Even many of them have already died, like Jeff Emerick, for example. And we are trying to get value of our history and to take that experience to make this transformation, this new vision, very rich and very full of content and very full of sense, and not just trying to feel a hold right now. I think we have to maybe it's I mean, in a healthy way, to feel this change deeply and reborn from there. So I don't know if I answer the question.
Yeah, that's inspiring. We can't just wait for it to go back to normal. We can't make excuses. People need to create. We need to support people who create. So I think that's inspiring. Jorge, you had your hand up. Yeah.
Yes, of course, I agree 100% to all of that Valeria said. But in my experience working with my students here as a professor in Peru, I learned from this experience that probably we should think about or rethink about the how important is the technology for us. I mean, there are both two sides of that point. One is, of course, we now depend on technology. That's how we are talking right now, you know. But at some point, I think that with all the technology in a recording studio, probably the younger generations had forgotten that the main thing in our industry, or the main element in music industry, are the people, you know, because I had the chance to talk to my students, and they're really aware about plugins or the last version of something, or if they're using that tool or another tool or what software, you know. And this experience that is a new experience for them, you know, well, for all of us, but for the younger people, it's I think it's harder, was to feel that emptiness of contact, you know. And at some point I talked to them and said, oh, okay, you have to think how important is the human interaction, you know, in all of this, you know, because finally music with all the technology means nothing without the people, you know, without the artists. So I think probably we have to stop, think about it, and use and restart it using the technology, you know, but again, trying to give the human side the importance that it always had, you know, and probably that we have lost a little bit in this last eras, you know. And this is how I think this is a big learning experience for all of us, you know.
I really like that. So we could be seduced into thinking we need technology to solve this problem, and you're shining a bright light on the humanity, the creation, the collaboration. We need to figure out how to make sure that comes through. And it's not going to be the technology that's important. It's going to be the connections that we still somehow are able to make. That's
absolutely
a very good point. Marcela, did you say earlier that you're actually busier in these last few months?
Yeah, I was gonna say I have like two things. In a professional way, well, I have been busier. I was lucky enough to have like some post-production things to work on right after the close up of everything. But also with my students, I have found that they are also staying at home, and they have a lot of energy and a lot of ideas, and they have found in their AES student section a way to canalize this energy. And they have been doing a lot of events that they really want to explore. So they contact a professional, and they have done 2 talks per week in the last 2 months. So that's a lot of events. And we have seen that the community has grown as well. Like, they have a fixed schedule, so it's always Tuesday and Friday at 5 p.m. So we have people that already know that, and they are starting to come. And the talks have been really interesting, starting from just like anecdotes from people in the industry until like workshops on a specific topic that really inspires them. And it has been really nice to be able, through AES, to build this tight community that they know. Like, there's like the committee that is about 20 students that are really in touch all the time, and are talking about their fears, their expectations, and that's like a real support. But also from all the people that attend these events. So that's really nice. And in terms of the professional AES section in Colombia, I was talking to Carlos Caballero, who's the president, and he was saying a bit like Valeria is saying, like, the professional section is taking it slow there, and it's trying to provide real like content that is interesting for professionals. So it's like these 2 ways of seeing the same situation.
And so I wonder if we could get a little bit more specific. You're a faculty advisor at your university, and you're describing the students sort of really feeling motivated to start a pretty healthy pace of 2 meetings a month. So I wonder if you could just help demystify that. If I'm a student, not at your university, but somewhere else, and there's not a very active student section, what's the key to making it work? What do you need in the students and in the faculty advisor? What advice do you have?
Actually, my section is really new. I started working at this university 2 years ago, and the section is only 1 year old, less than a year. So that shows, I think, that it's kind of not, I wouldn't say easy, but it can be done fast. You just need to be very active and organized. And luckily, we have the support of Cesar, who's the Latin American chief.
Regional vice president, but don't tell him his title. It'll go to his head.
So we could make the section like kind of fast. And what you need, I think, is just to be willing to spend some of your time doing what you love, which I think is not that hard. And when you find that there are many people with the same interest, some students with the same interest, I think it flows. Now we have like a WhatsApp group, and somebody says like, hey, I would like to know more about, I don't know, live sound in this venue. So let's contact this guy, and somebody else has the contact, and they start this, but it's really fast, you know. So I would encourage all the students around the world, if they don't have a specific section, they can have advice from another faculty advisor, or contact directly the VP or something.
That's great. So students should know they need to be proactive. AES isn't going to deliver things to you, but AES will support you if you're passionate to make things happen. So it really is organic, bottom up from the students, supported by the faculty advisor in AES.
Exactly.
Totally.
Yes,
yeah, go on, Jorge.
okay, no, I just want to add some ideas, a small idea. I think that in most of our countries in Latin American region, that is what we have closer. Students have discovered that how powerful they are in terms of that AES is not like a big far totem, that you just look in the horizon, that it's really close, and of course, because of the help of their faculty advisors and the professional sections, they had just asked and said, hey, we would like to start making webinars. Can you help us? Of course. What is your main goal? I would like to, as Marcela was saying, we would like to make one of live sound. Okay, this is a friend of mine, or a friend of a section. Contact him and tell him he wants to help us, and it was easy, and the next day you say, hey, did you talk with that guy? Yes. And he said, yes, we're gonna make it next week, and so it became like a program, a continuous program during the quarantine. So hopefully that first wave, so to speak, can continue after the quarantine in all of our region.
That's great. Valeria, you were going to say something, I think.
Yes, I want to share with you, with all of you, that at the moment we collaborate with a rescue association, which generally works for national emergency, such the earthquakes, and where we support them with gear, sponsorship, to detect life in debris, rubble, etc. But now this group is collaborating with sanitization in areas such as nursing homes and schools and community centers, etc. So what I wanted to say is it's important to adapt to new options, to new conditions, to new ways of helping each other. And in that point, another way of working and another opportunity to find things to do in this profession.
Excellent. Ivo, we didn't get a chance to hear from you. What sort of work you're doing in the time of this pandemic? What's changed for you, or advice for how things should change?
First of all, I think it's a big challenge. This was like a punch in our face. I mean, for all of us. But basically, I think we have to adapt to that. And as a section, we started to do some seminars, webinars. Just keep it simple. One speaker, one topic, 1 hour and a half, once a week. That was our main goal, and we started with that. We started to feel like living again with in contact with the community. I think a regular contact with the community is something important. But then we realized we really need, as Valeria said, like two or three ways of communicating, like short events and then more deep, bigger events. So we are planning our end of the year virtual event because unfortunately we don't see like this is gonna change for a live person event to the end of the year. So we are thinking in both ways, right? Short and regular and very close events, and then for the big ones. So that's our approach, and I think it's very dynamic. This is changing all the time. We have like several different ways or perspective on this situation, and we are adapting. I think that's the key.
And just to be clear, Ivo, you're talking about the Argentinian professional section is doing this. Is that right?
Yes, I'm the chairman of the Argentinian professional section, and I have to say that here in Argentina, the student section are very active the last 3 or 4 years, very active new section, and they are doing a lot of activities too. Yeah.
But it just makes the point that even for a professional section, all that needs to happen is if someone in that section is motivated by a specific idea, they just reach out to the leadership of the section and propose the idea, and they'll get a little bit of support and the event can happen. So it still comes from the members, right? We're not,
Yes,
we're not
basically
creating
we,
events.
yeah, basically we have once a week we have a meeting, monthly meeting, and then the proposals are evaluated, and then we decide how to do, and we have feedback from the social networks and the community and by email and stuff. So we plan the events depending on that.
Another way that Latin America is unique is that the format of the events, you're very creative, at least compared to what I see in the Boston section. You're willing to do day-long events. Like I think you led a session that went for like 6 hours on just sort of building your DAW session for a post-production section or something like that. But it was like you and a panel. This wasn't a 1 hour meeting. It's not a 90-minute tutorial. It was 6 hours. Everyone got their hands dirty and their head full of ideas.
Yeah, I mean, that was a post-production event, and then we have our main event is end of the year event, and it's actually a 1-day event. And when I say 1 day, it's like 8 hours or more. So yeah, we take it like in a long way.
But besides these big regional events, do any of you, the other sections, have day-long events or multi-hour events? It's not just a 90-minute tutorial, is it?
Well, we have had this year a regional event, which was not organized by any local section, but it was like a shared regional event that lasted for 64 hours. That was 2 hours per day, 4 days a week for 2 months, and that was pretty successful. We started with 700 people. We ended up with a little over 180, but that's 180 people that were there 4 days a week, 2 hours a day during 2 months. That was, I mean, we have the baby blues now. We are missing each other. I mean.
And so what was the event that motivated almost 200 people to stick it out for 2 hours a day, 4 days a week for so many weeks? I assume it wasn't doing decibel calculations.
It was talking about polarity, in fact. No, I was joking.
No, it was. It was.
Yeah, go on.
I'm sorry. This event was a great experience for all of us, for all the region, because we had like speakers from many different countries. I don't know how much of them. Probably Cesar had the right number, but from Mexico to Chile, we have already covered most of the countries.
29 presenters.
Yeah, that's a big number. And it was, Bob McCarthy's book about design and system design and optimization. Bob got the Spanish version last year, the digital Spanish version for the first time ever. And so because of the first idea of Cesar, we decided to make commented lectures from all the book, from the first page to the last one. So Cesar call a bunch of professionals from all the region, to cover by pairs from different countries, one chapter in 2 days. So we had, as Cesar said, 24 speakers from more than 10 countries, different countries, working together for 2 months. And it was a great experience. I think that the results were awesome.
And it was also awesome for presenters, not only for assistants, because
sure.
The presenters had to meet each other. There were 1,000 miles apart. They didn't know each other, and now they are friends that shared the preparation of the reading, of the commented reading for the chapter, and they had to synchronize themselves and adjust, and every single reader also followed the whole event. So we really created a live sound community regarding this, that it's strong and eager to continue to go on.
And luckily, this event was recorded and captured, so we hope to make it part of the AES Live library for AES members. It's in Spanish and some is in Portuguese. Is that right?
That's correct. I mean, it's all in Spanish, only but the 2 chapters that are read or commented by the own author, Bob McCarty, which are in English, and those are captioned to Spanish and Portuguese. So, I mean, the event was, even the Brazilian guys who presented, they spoke in Portuguese, in Spanish this time. So the event was, in fact, a Spanish language event. And we got a lot of people from Spain also, which are not in this region, but we shared language with them.
It sounds like a complete category killer. If anyone else who goes and views this is going to understand sound system design and optimization from 28 experts plus Bob McCarthy. I mean, that's good for anyone's career. I wonder, as we need to start wrapping fairly soon, I wonder if you have any events that are already planned coming up that you can pre-announce a little bit, so that viewers tonight can plan to lurk and try to see any live streams that you're doing soon.
I would just say, because I don't want to speak again about the Latin American conference, that you can follow it on aeslatam.org. We have also Facebook page from AES LATAM, and we have a Facebook page for AES LATAM students. And those Facebook pages and Instagram are fairly active, and Ecuador sections and Peru sections and Bolivia sections and Argentinian sections and Mexican sections, Colombian, they all publish their events there. So, I mean, and they are all free to assist to AES members from every place in the world. So we are now sharing every local event. I mean, everyone is sharing their local events, which becomes like mini international ones. I think that we should take care of this, because we have such an amount now that there is almost I would say we are in the border of having too much, of having to coordinate them in order to synchronize and not to, and in order to become sustainable with this venture. Because it's like, I would say, I would never say it's too much. I'm saying it's almost too much. Okay, it's like but it's really cool. It's really cool to be able to share this. And the only thing, and I will end with here and leave the word, is like, I think there's only a little danger of this, which is becoming, I think that we have adjusted to this pandemic situation where we are being successful. We are really being able to use our time and to synchronize efforts and making a lot of great things that I only would like to, if there are more Latin American or other people listening to this, to take care of. This will end sometime. And when this ends, we will not return to the previous reality. We'll have a new reality. And let's remember that AES is about getting people together too. So let's not forget about making real events and real hugs and real handshakes and real presentations. I'm not saying that they are more real than the virtual ones. I'm saying that they are different, and I'm not saying they are.
I think we lost you, Cesar. I lost you.
Yeah.
Yeah, I can hear.
Yeah. Bulletin. Well, basically, just for me to finish, of course, I agree with all of was said by my colleagues. Um, Another thing is that I think that this pandemic, as Cesar were saying, has uh, reunited not only the professional sections that we already had, very close together each other, but also the student section, from different countries. And I think that is going to be a very important engine, for the development of the AES in Latin America post quarantine era, and I'm pretty sure that the students are going to take the lead and continue working as hard as they did in all this last 3 months.
So we've bumped up against something really important, which is the AES isn't just about learning. We're all experienced enough to know that probably the more important value to AES events is meeting people, and I think it's become really difficult to do when we're socially isolated, and that this is the way we interact with each other. So I wonder if any of you might have advice for how do we make the networking side, which is so important to our careers and to our learning, how do we get that to work when we're mediated by this Zoom interface and other challenges? What's your advice for people who aren't very good at networking in person to begin their careers and grow their network now, if you have any advice?
Actually, it might be easier for the people that are not too so eager to make like personal contacts, because we're just one email away from any professional that we want to contact. And the worst case scenario, you're just not going to get a response back from the person that you write to. But I think it's a good opportunity for the students to also get to know each other and the other section. As Jorge was saying, probably the students are also gonna get together with people that are not in their specific country or region. I think it's a good opportunity.
Yeah. Anyone else want to add to that?
Yeah. I think as a normal situation, I would say just try to contact people, try to contact professionals, try to contact brands, try to contact company. I think contact is the key. I think the connection is the key. AES, it's all about making connections and knowing professionals. Also learn and about the industry, but I think in this industry, connection is the key. So I'm not sure if digital is different. I know digital connection is different, but just keep trying. I mean, during the last month, I got in touch with a lot of people from companies, brands, and they got back to me with information, with really important information I wanted from technology, from plugins, whatever. I think my advice is just to keep trying.
Yeah, well, we just have to invite all the students and professionals in Latin America to become part of AES. You have heard from all of us how many things had been going on this pandemic, and for sure it's going to be a lot more after this. So please contact your local AES section, and if you don't have one, well, it is time to make it happen in your country. We are all here to collaborate, headed by Cesar, by our vice president, but you can contact any one of us and we can help you to make a new section if you want to, or a new student section if you wanted to, right?
So you've just told the entire world that you'll help them start a section if they have questions for you.
Well, I mean, if I can, I'm going to do it.
That's really great. Well, the hour's gone by already, so we should wrap up. But I want to thank you very much for sharing your wisdom, and much more importantly, thank you for being crazy productive and generous in your local sections and then collaborating in the region. The Latin American region of the AES is an inspiration, and it's because of the five of you and the other people equally crazy. So I'm very appreciative of that, and all members benefit. So thank you. And thanks for joining us.
Thank you, Alex, for
Thanks,
all
Alex.
your support during this time.
Thank you,
Eventide.
Alex, and thank you, Eventide, and thank you, John Cribbett, for the invitation too. He is not here, but thank you, John. And be safe, be healthy, and see you soon.
Yeah, take care, guys.
Thanks, everyone.
Yep.
Bye-bye.
Thank you. Hey,
Excellent.
your AES Cup.